All right.
Thank you. You may be seated. Do we have another witness?
Okay, Your Honor, the people called Tim Boland.
Tim Boland. That's number 5. Right up here, sir. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Please be seated, sir. State your name for the record. Spell your last name. Then you may proceed, Ms. Hurt.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, my name is Tim Bolin, B-O-W-L-I-N.
Ready?
Good.
Good morning, Mr. Boland.
Good morning.
You work for the House Business Office.
Yes,
Could you explain what your title is and what your duties are?
sure. I'm the business office business director and the chief financial officer for the Michigan House of Representatives. I've had that capacity since 1989, with a short break in 2003 till 2006 when I was retired for a short period of time, and came back 2006 to date in the same capacity. My responsibilities are a number of them, actually. The financial advisor to the Speaker on budget issues, and that's in the Chief Financial Officer role. And the Business Office Director role is relative to a number of areas. Human Resources is under my office. Facilities is under my office. Financial Operations is under my office. And IT, Information Technology, is under my office.
And that office, of course, is in the city of Lansing, correct?
Correct.
I would like to direct your attention to beginning in January 2015 with regard to both the defendants, Corser and Gamrat. Have you had any contact with them prior to starting an investigation?
Yes.
Could you explain what type of contact that you had?
Sure. In November of 2014, right after the election, the Michigan House of Representatives holds an orientation program for all new members. That was the first time, I believe, I met both Representative Corser and Representative Gamrat.
Are you familiar with the, Mr. Randall testified that they're to sign a signature page for the record. Are you familiar with that?
I am.
Okay, and is that done at orientation?
It is.
Okay. Does that orientation call for just new members?
Primarily, there will be a number of former members that come in periodically to, at lunchtime, to give little discussions, but it is primarily to orient new members who have just been elected to the process that they're going to be receiving in January. Excuse me.
As part of that process, Mr. Randall already testified that signing of for their signature purposes and the pronunciation of their names, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You didn't happen to witness anybody signing it that stuff?
I witnessed a number of people signing it. I can honestly say I don't know if I saw them sign it, but I did see a number of there's a table set up in the beginning of the room, and I apologize if I'm saying too much. There's a witness table. There's a table in the front of the room, and before they get to my material, the first thing they do, the clerk has a person sitting at that table to get everyone's signature.
So, okay, good, thank you. So that's the first time you met them. Did you have another encounter with them sometime during 2015?
15? Excuse me?
2015. Or did you have any additional encounters prior to, from between the time that we met them in application going forward?
Not with them specifically. I had dealings with their offices, but not with them specifically.
Now, I'd like to direct your attention to August of 2015. Were you involved with information or an investigation of both of these defendants?
I was.
And was that at the direction of the speaker?
Yes.
And did you prepare a letter to the speaker at the conclusion of that investigation and submit a report to the speaker with regard to this?
I did.
I'm going to show you what's been marked People's Proposed Exhibits 9A, 9B, and 9C. And can we talk about 9A first? Are you familiar with that document? Or is the content of that document, is that familiar to you?
The content is
You're not familiar necessarily with the document.
correct. I don't handle the speaker's press releases.
So, were you directed by the speaker as stated in that document?
Yes.
So the content is familiar to you based on
The
what
content
your
is.
reactions were with the speaker?
Yes.
Okay, and what did the speaker want you to do?
I was asked the morning of the release of a Detroit News article to begin an investigation into any misconduct by Representative Corrs or Representative Gamrat, and to immediately secure what I deemed to be relevant information, relevant to what I was going to be doing in that investigation. So.
And that was essentially August,
August 7th, correct.
Of
course.
What is B?
I'm sorry?
What is B? What is 9B?
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Well, it's further down the line, but 9B, let's go through them. Is 9B familiar to you?
Yes, that's the letter I wrote to
When did you write
Speaker.
that letter?
When did I write the letter?
Or what's the date on that letter?
August 31st, 2015.
Okay, and what is that letter?
This is the intro letter to my report that I was submitting to the Speaker relative to my investigation.
Okay, in that investigation, what was would you consider that an official investigation?
Yes, I was asked to do it.
Why would you consider that an official investigation?
I was asked by the Chief Executive Officer of the Michigan House of Representatives, Speaker Cotter, to proceed with an investigation. So anything being asked by him would have been an official request on his part and an official filling of that obligation under my part.
And so then 9C is a copy of your report, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and was that submitted to Speaker Cotter along with 9B, opposed 9B?
It was.
Okay, and that's what the information that you gleaned from the investigation is contained in that report?
Yes,
And do you know if that report's is public record?
it is.
Moving the admission of these items?
Yes, I'd like to show them. Thank you.
Can I inquire as to the purpose of admitting the investigation?
You may voir dire the report. Purpose.
Here are the purposes.
Well, wait a minute. You asking me what the purpose is?
I want to ask him the prosecutor what the purpose is.
Public record, I think it was this, you believe it is the magistrate in this matter to be able to follow some information, since there's a significant amount of information that is being put forth to Your Honor. Also admissible under 801C. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one.
Okay, that's the reason. You can voir dire on the document or documents.
Mr. Boland, what I've been handed is a 9-page document called Report on Investigation of Alleged Misconduct, correct?
Correct.
Is this,
I believe, I'm not saying what you... Yes, sir.
Is this the entire report?
The report was in... No, it is not the entire report.
How many pages were in part of that report?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
How
you.
many pages were part of the report?
The findings were approximately 9 pages at the beginning, and then there was backup documentation about 800 pages.
Thank you. Put a voir dire. Fine.
So 9A, 9B.
No,
Mr. Boland,
Yes, sir.
we have to call each other by surnames. We
Yes,
know
sir.
each other real well.
We do.
Okay. I have 9B in my hand. It's a 2-page exhibit, sir. This is a letter by you to Kevin Cotter summarizing your findings. Is that correct?
It's a statement as to what I believe my report would reflect.
Okay. Your conclusions?
That would be what the other document that you had would be that. This was a statement as to what I believed my responsibility was and what I was going to press forward with. And that's what I was pressing forward with.
And you're pointing to 9C,
Yes, sir.
proposed 9C in my right hand.
Yes,
there.
sir.
That is a multi-page document which is essentially a summary of that 833 monolith that we all went through, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this contains your opinions, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your conclusions?
Yes, sir.
And some of those opinions and conclusions are partially what's at issue in this case, if you're aware of that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you. Your Honor, I don't have any further blame.
Okay. On the exhibit,
My position is this. They've established that it's an official investigation with testimony. 9C contains opinions and conclusions of the witness, which would be hearsay, even if it's admissible under, I think it's 803-8. But really, we're separating the conclusions of the HBO report. I mean, that's not what's at issue for this court. What's at issue for this court is whether or not there were crimes committed here. So it's not relevant. It's still hearsay within, just because a document comes in under an exception, you still have to establish an independent hearsay exception for each statement within the document. As to 9B, I really don't have an exception.
9A.
As to 9A, I have an objection because if that's hearsay, that's a press release by...
Well,
They went through 9A.
oh. Okay. Well, I think B and C, frankly, I'm taking 9A because the witness just said it just showed what he was directed to do.
And then I move to admit 9A.
You can't withdraw and we're not going to do it. You're supposed to let me rule. Overrule. Exhibits 9A through C are received. Like I said, he just referenced 9A as this is what the speaker was asking him to do. I don't take it for anything more than that. Okay? As for the report, the report of his findings. Okay? That may give some context to whether or not his criminal charges are sustainable, or it may not. There's a lot of evidence here, a lot of testimony for me to look at. And, you know, I can see the forest for the trees. Okay. A through C are received. Go ahead.
were looking for A. I put it away.
Okay.
Located. Thank you. Now, we've admitted to evidence to report. I'd like to talk to you about conversations and investigations that you've had with the parties. I understand your investigation included several different individuals, correct?
Correct.
And that investigation was conducted at the house here in Lansing, correct?
Correct.
And just in general, how did that investigation occur? Was it recorded? Was it not recorded? Were there other people in?
Sure. A very deliberate process of first outlining what I believe I was going to be asking whoever I was going to be interviewed. So I put together a series of questions that I wanted to make sure were, in my mind, relevant, but also that were going to be consistent, and I was going to ask the exact same thing to everybody that I was interviewing. So I put together that document, and then I was trying to figure out if I was going to tape or if I was going to have people taking notes. I was advised that it would be best not to tape because people are more reluctant to talk freely relative to a interview if it wasn't taped. But I am not the I didn't want to have to conduct the interview and ask the questions and also take notes myself. So I had 2 people in the room at all times, a minimum of 2 people in the room at all times to take notes on my behalf.
Okay, and who were those people?
Most often in the cases they were either Deb Probable, Director of Finance under my office, or Doug Simon, who was the director at the time of the committee, House committee rooms. He was director of that at that time. He currently is my deputy director.
All right, so I'd like to draw your attention to August. You did take, or you interviewed the defendant, Cindy Gamrat, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And can you please advise the court about what questions you asked? Well, let me take it down. Did you ask her with regard to the falsified email that had been disseminated to the public? Did you ask her any questions in that regard?
Just hang on 1 second. Mr. Nichols, I take it I'm still taking this pursuant to the ruling on 408-14.
That's correct.
All right, very good.
Did you ask her any questions with regard to the falsified email?
Yes.
When I say that that's the salacious email that was sent out to many different people. Did you
Yes.
ask her questions?
I did.
What did you ask her with regard to her knowledge? Now, this was during August 17th, approximately?
Correct. One of the questions, there were a couple questions relative to this issue, but one of the questions was, did you use state resources for issues either to cover up the alleged affair of Representative Corser and Representative Gamrat? And then there was another question of, did you ask anybody, or were you ever asked by anyone to do anything unlawful? During the course of those questions, the answers were, no, I didn't ask anybody to do anything unlawful. No, I did not misuse state resources. And I said, and that included the email. And the reason I remember asking that question was because I remember seeing the press conference that Representative Gamrat had previous to that. So I was curious as to her statement in that, and I wanted to get her answer.
Okay, so your question with regard to the email was to her was what?
And did that pertain to the email? And she said to me, I didn't know about the email until I was told about it by a reporter.
Told about it by a reporter?
Correct.
And where, did she say where she was told about it?
I believe it was a MERS reporter, but I'm not positive of that. But it was after the release of the Detroit News article.
She knew about the email, or?
That's when a reporter informed her about the email.
Did you ask her if she knew about the content
I asked her if she knew about the email, and she said no. The first she knew about that email was from that reporter.
So you didn't pursue any more?
I did not.
With regard to that. Was Mr. Baydoun in that interview?
Yes.
Okay. At another time within that period, you also interviewed then Representative Corser, did you not?
Yes.
And what question did you ask him with regard to the false flag email? If you recall.
Your Honor, just to be clear, you're taking it
Right.
subject to the board.
Subject to my ruling on 408-410. Go ahead. What question did you ask him as it relates to the email?
The general discussion, and again, you know, I was given information from the Detroit News article, in which led to the whole entire investigation. So his voice was on the recordings that we heard relative to that. So it was, can you tell us, again, the questions were the same. Can you tell us if you misuse state resources, if you asked anybody to misuse state resources, if you asked anybody or did anything unlawful? And Representative Corser explained his participation in the false flag email issue to us.
Okay. And did you ask him whether or not he had collaborated with or discussed the email with Representative?
I did not ask him that question directly, no.
Okay, after you were completed those interviews, let's go back to the defendant Gamrat's interview. After you completed that, did you have a discussion with the people that were taking the notes in the room? Mr. Simon and Ms. Rubel?
Sure. Can I talk about that process in general?
Sure.
Again, Doug Simon and Deb Rubel were the ones taking the notes on my behalf. After that, people had the opportunity, that were interviewed, had the opportunity to review them and make changes. If the changes were deemed to be substantive, then they would bring those to me. I was not in the room when they were going over them generally. They would just simply meet with the people, go over their notes, and if those reviews and edits were something that were simply a misinterpretation or what have you, and it wasn't substantive, then they would make the changes, and then a new draft would be done, and then hopefully the person would sign that final document. In the case of Representative Corser and Representative Gamrat, they did not.
They did not.
Sign the documents because I believe they wanted to make more edits at that time.
And you would not allow that?
I was preparing the draft report for Speaker Cotter, and I told them if they wanted to do it after that, they could, and submit whatever they wanted to submit separately.
Did they?
Representative Corser, yes, they did.
I would like to direct your attention to conversations you had with Mr. Simon and Ms. Rubel at the conclusion of the interview with Ms. Gamrat. Was there a discussion had with regard to whether or not they believed her with regard to the false flag
I
email?
object. We don't allow polygraphs in the court. We don't allow human polygraphs in the court either, especially when it's hearsay third parties.
I will rephrase the question.
Okay? Rephrase it.
Did you believe that Ms. Gamrat did have knowledge or did tell you the truth at the time of the interview?
No objection.
How's that any different?
Because he was the person who was listening to her, he had a copy, he had already had other knowledge from physical evidence. He made a conclusion based on her answer and a conclusion based on the other evidence that he had, physical evidence he received.
Well, let's try it this way. Mr. Bowling, as a result of the review of the materials and consultation with your staff who took those, did you draw any opinion or conclusion as to whether or not either or both of the parties were involved in this so-called false flag email? I asked if you drew an opinion or conclusion. Your objection's noted.
Yes, sir.
And is that contained in your report that's been received as Exhibit 9C?
It is.
All right, next question. Let's move on.
Do you know a person by the name of Karen Couture?
Yes.
Can you spell that last name?
I believe it's C-O-U-T-U-R-E.
C-O-T-U-R-E.
Correct.
All right.
Was there a question whether or not she was to Mr. Corser or whether or not she was working on state time at his private law firm?
Yes.
And did you pursue an investigation regarding that?
I asked the questions of her and Representative Corser.
And what was your conclusion? Let's put it this way. Was there an investigation started based on information you received regarding it?
Yes.
There was an investigation, a house investigation?
I looked into it, and so I deemed that to be part of the investigation, yes.
And there was no further, it was just investigated and that was the end of it?
That by me, yes.
With regard to the scammer, I guess I have the same question, except that it's contained in your report, both Corser and Gamrat, your opinion and your conclusions are contained in the report, correct?
Correct.
You are over the IT portion of the House of Representatives, that one of the departments under you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have knowledge of where the server is located?
Primary servers are located in the House Office Building, the Anderson House Office Building on 124 North Capitol.
Right here in Lansing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is the domain name for the official for that server? Would it be your name, at what?
It's, like for me, it's timbolin@house.mi.gov.
So if there was another, is that the official House?
It's at house.mi.gov, G-O-V.
So if a person's a representative in the House, that was their official email?
Yes, usually the representatives have two email accounts, a private one and a public one.
And the public one would be the one we're talking about?
Correct.
Okay.
They both would actually have the same domain of house. It's just a matter of the beginning part would be different.
Oh, I see.
What do you mean both, the personal and the private?
Yeah, there's a different naming convention for the private one that the members can use versus the one that's published for the public.
Mr. Boland, at a time after you conducted the interview with Ms. Gamrat, had you spoken to her again?
I'm sorry?
Had you spoken to Ms. Gamrat after you conducted the interview with regard to the false flag email?
Yes.
Could you please explain that?
Sure.
I object, because what's relevant is what was stated during the official interview. That's the basis for the charge, and that's in the bill of particulars. And if it's something during the water cooler while she was there represented by counsel, which is where I think this is going, there was no permission to talk to her when Mr. Abood was there.
Well, I don't know. Mr. Nichols, I mean, if it's a water cooler and her lawyer's standing there, and he asked her a question and she say give some incriminating answer, I mean,
Well, then I asked for
your lawyer should have said something.
Well, I asked for that to be parsed out, because the facts are going to show that...
Well, I don't know what it is. I don't even know what... he could say, yep, I said something to her, what did she say? I didn't do it. I don't know what the answer's going to be.
But the problem is, if it's at the water cooler, it's not during the...
I don't know where it is. Well, I'm going to get to that. Also, this is potentially a statement against penal interest. I don't know. I haven't heard it. So I'll tell you what. Let's hear what it is, and then I'll decide.
At what time did you saw Ms. Gamrat after the investigation, correct?
Correct.
And did she approach you, or did you
Put a
approach
time
her?
frame on it.
Then, go ahead.
It was after the report was issued.
The report was issued
Uh,
August 31st.
Correct.
So sometime after August 31st. Can we be a little narrower? Was it before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving?
I don't know.
Okay. Was it between Thanksgiving and Christmas?
To the best of my knowledge, it was shortly after the report was released.
Well, actually, so let me back up.
Yes, sir.
I believe she was expelled September 11th,
Yes, sir.
so it would have been somewhere between October 31st and September.
I believe so, yes,
Very
sir.
good. All right, go
Between
ahead.
August 31st and September 11th.
Yes.
So I renew my objection because it's not relevant. If the official investigation has been completed, what she said to him is not relevant.
Okay, I think I said, I'm gonna take the answer and then I'll see. I mean, I'm not gonna rule on whether something is relevant or not. I have no clue what it is. Okay? I don't know what it is, she said. Let's find out.
Mr. Boland, when you saw her during that time period, did she approach you or did you approach her? Okay, explain the circumstances.
Thank you. We work on the same floor. We worked on the same floor, so it wasn't unusual if we would see each other, especially around this time. I don't know if it was, I think it was simply she was walking towards one direction, I was walking in the opposite, and we met. And I remember exactly where it was. It was right outside the conference room, because I asked her if she wanted to go in the conference room and talk privately, and she said, sure. She said, you said I was deceitful and dishonest. And I said, yes, Representative, I'm sorry I had to do that, but yes. And she said, how was I dishonest? And I said, you lied to me about the email. And she said, no, I didn't know about the email. And I said, Representative, I know you did because I've heard the tapes. I've heard the tapes, I've talked to people I know that you knew. And she said no. And I then said, Representative, I'm sorry I've had to know anything about your personal life. I'm sorry for all of that, but you lied to me. Primarily, yes.
Overruled. I'll take the answer for what it's worth. I'll take the answer.
I have no further questions, sir.
Okay. Ross, what's your name?
No objections? I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Defense Proposed Exhibit B. I believe there's no objection to its admission. So I so move Exhibit B, which is identical to Special Record Exhibit A, Your Honor. It's the script.
Well, let me ask you a question. I see a big black mark on there. Is that redacted?
He's got the other version that's not redacted. It's redacted, but it's all I got.
You're going to have to get another one.
Did I ask you to bring the other versions of the script from Ms. Gamrat?
Could you or did you? I
Did
didn't.
I? Counsel?
No.
I think Mr. Shannon's got it.
I'm not taking redacted stuff from the government. I'm not going to take it from the defense. I am nothing but consistent. Marvelous consistent.
B1 and B2. I have these marked.
We'll make copies of those.
There are, I believe, 4 copies of each.
We only need one.
Okay.
Just mark one. We only need one. Listen, we need one right now. You guys figure out distribution afterwards. We need one copy now of each. So this will be Defense Exhibit B.
B1.
B1 and B2?
Yes. And now handing you what's been marked as defense proposed exhibit B2.
Okay.
Mr. Bowling, what are first B1? What is that?
It is the typed document that was both Doug Simon and Deb Rubel's notes from, and then typed notes as to the answers that Representative Gamrat gave during her interview.
Were there not multiple versions of this product?
There was definitively a second version because it says revised on such a date, and then revisions were made that morning, and these were the changes that ended up in the report.
Okay. And the changes that ended up in the report, is that B2, sir?
Yes.
So is it your testimony?
This is still Ms. Gamrat's, correct?
Correct.
So is it your testimony that B2 is the unredacted, revised, final version of the Gamrat script with the answers?
Correct.
As summarized by Robel and Simon?
Correct.
Robel would be W-R-O-B-E-L, correct?
W-R-O-U-B-E-L.
Thank you. All right. And B1 is the first version that your staff and you came up with after the interview?
The staff did primarily. I reviewed them. It matched what I recalled the discussion to be, and then there were revisions by Representative Gamrat and her attorney.
Mr. Boland, you remember meeting with Representative Gamrat and her attorney. It would have been August 29th of 2015?
Yes.
And why were there revisions between B1 and B2, if you know, sir?
Specifically, I don't know. I know that there were some nuanced changes to it. I don't know if it was all substantive or if they were typographical. I don't know what the specific changes were, but I do know this, is that the instructions to staff was if it's additional testimony, it is not to make it in the draft. If it is a revision as to everyone's recalled the recollection and everyone can agree on that, then it made the report. Any additional testimony was to be submitted separately.
That's important for a second. Let's focus on that. If it's something that the interviewee, in this case Cindy Gamrat, reviewed and said that's not correct, I want that out or changed or whatever, that's one thing that you would have considered, right?
Correct.
But I want a statement that said, I want to add this, you would not consider that.
If it was new to the testimony, if it was not said in the room, then we would not add it.
Did she ever sign either B1 or B2, sir?
She did not.
Does B1 represent a fair and accurate version of the first draft that you and your staff came up with after the interview of Cindy Gamrat?
B1, sir?
B1.
Yes.
And does B2 represent a fair and accurate representation of the final product after Ms. Gamrat and her attorney reviewed the document and your staff made some changes?
Yes.
Move for the admission now of B1 and B2.
Objection, Mr. Paterno. Ms. Hart.
No, Your Honor.
Exhibits B1 and 2 are received.
Now, I don't think I offered B, but I'll just keep it. I'll keep it because I don't think I ever offered it.
Well, hang on a minute.
That's B.
Yeah, take that one. The one that appears to be a redaction. All right, I'll take those exhibits.
So I've got copies of B1 and B2 if you need some. Why were there redactions, by the way, for the court's benefit?
There were a number of redactions to, I believe, I was not the one handling the redactions. There were to eliminate people's private home addresses, I believe, private cell numbers, private information that was not to be made public.
Okay. At the top of B1 and B2, there is a statement that you read, or were supposed to read, I guess, because I wasn't there. Do you see that at the top of the page there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would that be the same on all three versions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that a statement you read to every single interviewee during your HBO report?
everyone.
Okay. What you read to Ms. Gamrat was your participation in this interview is requested to assist in the investigation of alleged misconduct by Representative Sportsman Gamrat, right?
Correct.
Your identity and any information that you choose to disclose as part of this documented conversation is neither confidential nor privileged and may be used in a subsequent investigation by law enforcement or in a committee setting or any other proceeding, right?
Correct.
You may choose to consult with an attorney at your own expense, right?
Correct.
Where did you say to her you have a duty to be completely honest and truthful during this interview?
Where in that statement?
Correct.
It's not in that statement.
Okay. Why did you leave this statement?
Because I wanted to make sure that everyone who was being interviewed understood that my investigation could lead to other things. And they needed to be aware that I would make this document available.
Other things meaning prosecution for criminal conduct?
Or committee hearing, yes, sir.
Either or both, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, this 9-page document, I'll just cut to the chase. Nowhere in here does it reflect a question to her consistent with what you testified to, specific to. What was your testimony in direct examination about the email?
I believe there is a reference to there about the email where I say that she, my conclusion was that she misrepresented herself on the email. I believe that is in there.
Page?
I don't have the report in front of me, sir.
No, talking about E2.
Oh, is it in here? I thought you meant the report. I apologize.
Yes.
No, it is not in there.
Okay. This work product is the second version after you reviewed the notes, the contemporaneous notes, with Probable and Simon, right?
Yes, sir.
They're pretty good note takers, right?
I can't speak to that
Well, why did you have them take notes?
because I needed people I trusted in the room.
You trust them.
I do.
And you trust them because they're good at their jobs. Yes?
That was one of the reasons.
You needed scriveners in there because you were going through this script, right?
Yep.
This is a script you asked every single interviewee, right?
Yes.
Everybody got the same set of questions, right?
Yes.
And this was conducted on August 17th, 2015, right?
Yes.
You interviewed Graham, Allard, and I think Klein the next day, right?
I'd have to look at my notes as to the
After?
date. Yes, after them, yes.
After comparing notes with Probable and Simon, nowhere in here does it reflect any question and answer about knowledge of the specific contents of the so-called falsified email. Agreed?
Agreed.
You know the old saying, a picture says 1,000 words, right?
Yes.
A recording says 1,000 words too, right?
A recording or this document?
Well, we can't refute an audio recording, can we?
Correct.
This was not recorded.
Correct. It was not.
There was no court reporter.
No.
Did you testify in direct as to why there was no court reporter there?
Did I testify as to why there was no court reporter?
Correct.
I didn't know I had the ability to get one. I think I could have taped it, but I was advised not to.
You remember meeting with this guy, Detective Dwyer?
Yes.
And 3 of his cohorts?
Yes.
One of them was Detective Sergeant Rick Trubeck
Sounds right?
and Detective Brewer
Yes.
and I think Detective Johnson, right?
Yes.
October 29th, right?
I believe that's a
You
date.
remember explaining all that process to them, right?
I do.
You told them we went and talked to Dickinson, right?
Hmm?
And as a result, yes?
Yes.
As
I'm
a result
sorry.
of that conversation, we did not record.
Objection, Your Honor. We're getting into some privileged context now, and
Sounds that way.
He opened up and spilled his guts about why he didn't take one in great detail.
He just said he was told not to. And we're going to end it there. If it involves the conversation he had with his lawyer, that's privilege, that's attorney-client, that's off limits. He didn't take it.
And my offer is that it was waived by virtue of the tape-recorded conversation with law enforcement.
Okay. Well, we got a protective order. It's attorney-client privilege. Objection. I'm going to sustain the objection. You're not going there.
As a result of the conversation being taped.
Excuse me, what's the question?
Didn't tape as a result of the conversation.
He's already said that. He said he decided not to take
Okay,
it.
well, it's foundational. I'm trying to get to an excellent question. But you didn't know that you could bring in a court reporter?
No.
Are you familiar with court reporters making transcripts, right?
Yes.
You've been doing this for a long time, your job at HBO.
Yes.
In fact, you were involved in the House Fiscal Agency investigation, right?
Yes.
About 20 years ago.
Yes.
And you did interviews then, right?
No.
No?
No.
You were lower pay grade then?
No.
Okay.
I was deposed.
Okay, with a court reporter.
Yes.
All right, you did. Her attorney was Andrew Boone on August 17, 2015, right?
Yes.
He was at the interview.
Yes.
You and he had a conversation. Correct?
During that interview,
Well, a specific conversation. You saw him out here today, right?
I did.
Right. There was a debate about whether or not he could record the interview. Yes?
There was.
Was it your understanding that you were not to allow him to record the interview?
I made a statement to him that if I'm not recording, he's not recording.
You told him he could not record.
Correct.
This debate turned into an argument.
No.
Your Honor, I would object as to relevancy. I think it's gone far off the path.
I don't record, you don't record.
It's the last question on the issue, and the whole point is there's no objective evidence of what they asked her and what she said.
Mr. Nichols, how long do you think I practice law?
I'm not going to say.
Well, you go right ahead. It won't embarrass me.
Judge, there's no good answer to
Excuse
the
me.
question.
Here it is. I practiced 30 years. You know, I know what this is. It's just like it's no different than a police report. It is the officer's recollection and notes of what the person says that may or may not be accurate. Okay? I know how to handle this when I read it. Okay? Right?
Now,
Come on, guys. I've been around the block a few times. In fact, Mr. Nichols taught you a few things. You used to follow me around with a microphone and a camera. When you were at Channel 10.
can I go?
As long as we understand each other.
9C, the summary, I can ask a question.
Yep.
9C, your summary that we just admitted into evidence with your opinions and conclusions, right? Right?
Yes.
It was based in part as it related to Ms. Gamrat, this interview that is memorialized at E2, right?
In part. Yes.
This was a series of questions from an outline, right?
This?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, the conclusion that you drew that's reflected in your report that you testified to and I objected about this false flag email, right? Your source of information was what you believed was attributed to her husband, Joe Gamrat, right? Something you heard that he said to Ben Graham.
You'd have to repeat that. I don't
Sure.
understand your question.
Sure. You saw her press conference.
Yes.
Right? Her
Yes.
press conference was like 3 days before your interview.
Correct.
It was a Friday, and then your interview was Monday, right?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, you didn't know that Ben Graham had tape recorded Todd Corser in Todd Corser's office, right?
When my investigation started, we did know because it was in the Detroit News.
Had you heard it?
I did hear that recording only.
Okay. Had you heard the portion of the conversation where Cindy Gamrat reportedly called in?
Was she what?
Reportedly called into Todd Corser?
Yes.
You had. And then you heard Todd Corser's statements to Ben Graham following that phone call?
Yes.
And he, Todd Corser, represented something that Joe Gamrat had told him, correct?
In that night?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I believe. There was a mention of Joe Gamrat, but I don't know I can't remember what context.
And that's why you believe that Ms. Gamrat didn't tell you the truth about the email during your interview with him, right?
No.
What were the other pieces of information that caused you to form that conclusion?
Her press conference was one, and my question to her in the interview was the second.
And you quoted her statement in 9C. It's section 2B4, I believe.
What page?
5 of 9 in 9C, section 2A3. Everybody there? It's 9C. It's exhibit 9C.
You don't have
You talking about Roman number 3 where it says Representative Gamrat unconditionally stated in her interview?
Yes.
Okay.
She did not know about the false email before it had been sent, correct? Words are important, right? I'm sorry. We got to pick up your answer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. And it would be an important transitory verb there, right?
Yes.
Did not know about would be an important transitory phrase there, right?
Yes.
She also stated at her August 14th press conference that she, quote, did not offer nor assist in sending the email in question, end quote, and was, quote, unaware that this email was sent, and also the content until a reporter pointed out to me, end quote. Right?
Correct.
Okay. And you testified on direct as best you could remember what you specifically asked Ms. Gamrat, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Nichols, I don't want to break your train of thought, but I don't want to lose mine either. Mr. Boland, I'm going to show you this Romans 3 section.
Yes, sir.
You take a look at that. There are 3 statements contained in there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you saying all 3 of those you believe to be incorrect?
I believe what I stated on number 3 was all correct. I believe what I said was correct. That she stated in her interview that she did not know. I believe that's correct.
That she did not know
About the false flag email.
before.
That's what she said in her thing. And this is why, may I turn to another page, sir? This is relevant to that committed misconduct in office and warranted further investigation and review by select committee. That I believe that she was not being honest there.
I want to make sure I understood that part. Can you say that again?
I'm going to put it there.
Okay, go ahead.
So, sir, it says here, she also stated, Representative Gamrat unconditionally stated in her interview that she did not know about the false flag email before it was sent.
Correct.
Do you believe that to have been true or untrue?
I thought it was untrue because what I heard on the recording refuted that.
Okay. Then it says she also stated at her April 14th press conference that she did not offer nor assist in sending the email in question. Now that's compound right there. Do you believe she was being truthful or untruthful to the extent that she did not author the email?
I was unsure. I believe she was being untrue.
Okay. And you had some evidence that she authored or participated in writing this email?
Again, the audio tape indicated that there was conversation from Representative Korzer that said that her and Joe wanted different changing in the language of the false flag email.
And as it goes to, did not assist in sending it. You believe she assisted in sending the email?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe she hit send or did what?
I believe she told people to do that, yes.
Did you ever interview or talk to an Emmanuel Eichel?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, next question, Mr. Got an appointment, somebody?
All right, we can get there. You testified on direct examination about what you recall asking Ms. Gamrat, and you said did not foresee any more questions. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you're trying to be honest and truthful as you testified here today, agree?
Of course.
Doing your best based on your independent recollection. Agree?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Did not pursue any more questions. I'm going to parse that out for a minute. Because as Judge Clark pointed out, to say did not know about the email completely or did not know about the email at all, did not know about the existence of the email, that's an absolute statement, did not know that the email existed. Do you agree with me?
I do.
And I gave you three of them, all three of them, right?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
But to say did not know about the email, that could mean did not know about the contents of the email. Do you agree with that?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to speculation.
Well, I'm going to take the answer.
Correct.
I have proposed exhibits C and D, which are the contemporaneous notes of the Scribners, but I just realized these are redacted too. They're Simon and Roble, maybe counsel.
There's an unredacted copy somewhere?
I don't have them, and I don't know that they can be obtained in short order.
Do we know, Mr. Boland, their handwritten notes? Why don't you show those to us?
Mr. Bowl, handing you what's been marked for identification purposes. This would be C and D, Mr. Bowl.
Do you know, sir, do those unredacted copies or originals of those notes still exist?
I believe they do. Yes, sir.
Okay. And how difficult would it be to put together?
It would not be difficult.
Let me see this first. I noticed that I don't like stuff. There's multiple copies of this, right? Yes. So are you able to look at Exhibit D and tell me what is it that's blacked out? Do you know?
No, sir, those aren't my notes, so I don't know.
You know who did the redacting?
I don't.
Okay, well, he says he can get them. He can bring them back. We're going to take our lunch break. So, Mr. DePerno, you're going to start your cross after lunch. Mr. Nichols, let's move to a different area, and the witness can bring the originals, or he can bring copies of the originals when he comes back this afternoon. We'll come back and finish before 12.
The purpose of the investigation was multiple, correct?
Yes.
One was to investigate whether or not Allard and Graham were wrongfully terminated, is that correct?
That was part of the investigation, correct.
And the other part was to determine whether there was a misuse of taxpayer resources by Ms. Gamrat or Mr. Corsi, correct?
Correct.
And then generally their qualifications as legislators. Agree?
No.
No? Okay. Go ahead.
That's not my job.
Okay. Was there a third purpose, or did I cover the basics?
You covered the basics.
As it related to the wrongful terminations of Graham and Allard, those conclusions are also in your summary, which is now admitted as 9C, correct?
Correct.
That is a result of interviewing everybody, right?
Correct.
I'm looking at the emails, right?
Correct.
And listening to the tapes. right?
Correct.
There were
Correct.
5 tapes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
A lot of hours of listening to tapes. Right?
Correct.
You put a lot of time into this.
I did.
Your heart and soul.
I did.
How many hours do you think you put into that?
Hundreds.
I might be done. Can I check with my tape?
Well, for now, I mean, obviously you want to come back to this, but you go right ahead.
Okay. And I might do the unredacted notes with the 2 staffers who authored them. Can you identify their respective handwriting, sir?
I'd love to say I can, but I can't.
Well, let me see them again, because one had an initial in the corner that says MS. See there? DF.
That'd be Doug Simon.
That'd be Doug Simon, and this one, well, by process of elimination, Doug Simon did one, then this Warble did the other.
Correct. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. You got to come back anyway. Why don't you have some copies of the unredacted version.
Okay.
Let's just be consistent.
Your Honor, if I may, just on those interviews, is that correct?
So what I'm hearing about right now.
Okay.
Well, I'm just going to call out, we were meeting for Representative Corsi, too. If you're going to get the ones for Cindy Gamrat, and things like that,
Yes, sir.
For Rubel and Simon.
Right.
They were in the course of the meeting.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, what we'll do, Mr. Nichols, we'll interrupt your examination at this time. We're going to break for lunch. We'll take our new recess. We're going to try to be back here about 1:15, 1:20. I want to start at 1:30. And I suggest we be prepared to look at some dates, because I don't think we're going to finish. The government's witnesses today. Right. So we're going to have some dates to come back to take government witnesses and any witnesses. The defense may have sort of secret cover because we're going to come back sooner than that time period for folks to brief in this matter. So we're going to keep plugging along here. Okay? All right, we're in recess. Thank you.
So it comes in the context of the criminal case, yeah? Definitely a bet.
I don't know, somebody just sent me something in here. I've never seen this.
Back. You got any questions, I can take your
Yeah, we can just leave.
Let me have something. Can we put one of the table mics up there?
There is one, a podium, but the podium is...
Oh, okay.
I've been taking it.
So you gotta move back, or you gotta speak louder, or you gotta move back and forth.
We're not carrying binders today.
And the closer to the mic.